Anyone miss Queen Elizabeth's funeral a few weeks ago? Anybody? Oh, wait a minute, come on. If you, really, seriously? All right, if you did, were you hiding under a rock, quite possibly?
No TV.
No TV. Either that or maybe you've got a full-time job. No TV, that's a good experience. All right. Well, to put it quite simply, it was all Queen all the time on some days. Matter of fact, you could have had the Crown News Channel and they could have gone 24/7 wall to wall. You're agreeing with me? And trust me, it was quite a spectacle. You would have thought an American president had passed away. One thing is for sure, the Britons proved once again that nobody does pomp and circumstance quite like them, as you can see right here with this photo here. While many nice words were said about the Queen's longevity, very few were about a memorable part of her personality. That would be a loquacious part of her personality. As you can see from time to time, she was a child. Queen Mary demanded her granddaughter keep a straight face, a stiff upper lip. According to her, it was inappropriate for monarchs to smile in public. But when she grew up, however, Queen Elizabeth became known for her cutting wit. And her cutting wit in which she would use to make her subjects feel at ease in her presence, diffuse uncomfortable situations, or even manage frightening situations. She was well known for her talent of mimicry. Yeah, she'd met a few world leaders in her time, and Queen Elizabeth entertained her friends and family with her outstanding ability to replicate virtually any accent. And this, of course, came in very, very handy. Case in point, in a scary incident that occurred in 1982, a drunken man scaled his way up to the walls of Buckingham Palace and into a window where he was shocked to discover the sleeping Queen. Obviously, this is an artist rendering right here, not an actual photo here. After the terrific strain of the occasion, the Queen sought relief in doing imitations of the Cockney chambermaid coming upon the scene. For days afterwards, Her Majesty was apparently wandering about the palace saying, "Bloody hell, ma'am, bloody hell, what's he doing in here?" And her humor wasn't limited to home. Matter of fact, you could find it wherever she traveled all over the world. During a visit to New Zealand in 1986, Queen Elizabeth and her husband were riding in an open car, like you see right here, through Auckland, when two women posing as crowd control officers hurled eggs at them. Eggs! The country's prime minister was aghast. He couldn't believe this. But the Queen managed to make a joke about it a couple of days later during a speech at a state banquet. New Zealand has long been renowned for its diet produce, though I should say that I myself prefer my New Zealand eggs for breakfast, she quipped. And her humor found its way into politics in the United States. She was quite a frequent visitor. And during Queen Elizabeth's 7-decade reign, she met 13 American presidents, and it was reported that Ronald Reagan was her favorite. The pair had much in common, as you can see right here, including a passion for horseback riding, which they enjoyed together on occasion. And in 1983, the Queen and her husband, Prince Philip, embarked on her first and much anticipated visit to California. Good old sunny California, right? The 10-day trip was to commence with the royal couple's arrival in Santa Barbara on her yacht, Britannia, where they would be met by the Reagans. The area, however, I did say sunny California, right? Right. It was experiencing severe weather in the form of a massive storm that necessitated several changes to the itinerary. So at a dinner in her honor in San Francisco, she waited for her opportunity to bring down the house. About a minute or so into her speech, she delivered her zinger with a straight face. "I knew before we came that we had exported many of our traditions to the United States, but I had not realized before that the weather was one of them." Her comment, which made light of the state's unusually stormy weather and its similarity to London's typically rainy climate, caused Reagan to howl with laughter. And then there is this guy right here. During a visit to the White House in 2007, President George W. Bush made one of his fairly common verbal blunders. That's right, at the Queen's expense. By that point, she had been on the throne for 55 years and had known 10 American presidents. However, Bush nearly aged the Queen by 200 years. 200 years, that's right. When he spoke at this historic occasion, the American people, proud to welcome your Majesty back to the United States, a nation you've come to know very well. After all, you've dined with 10 US presidents and you've helped our nation celebrate its bicentennial in 1976. He corrected himself and looked over at the Queen before telling the crowd, she gave me a look that only a mother could give a child. The Queen then took her turn and gently jabbed back at the president the following evening. I wondered whether I should start this toast by saying, when I was here in 1776. The crowd, including President Bush, erupted with laughter, as you might imagine. And from the Department of You Never Know Who You Might Bump Into when you're out and about, having a quick little walk, she came across some hikers who didn't recognize her one day. Yeah, no kidding. World's most famous, longest lasting person, monarch. Anyway, not one to be easily offended, the Queen took a pair of hikers' failure to recognize her as an opportunity to have a little bit of fun. While on a walk with security guard Richard Griffin in the hills near her Scottish castle Balmoral, they came across, two Americans, who started up a conversation. It quickly became apparent, however, that they had no idea with whom they were speaking. As Griffin told Sky News, they shared details about their trip and asked the Queen if she might live nearby. She replied that she lived in London, but had another house nearby. She also shared with the hikers that she'd been visiting the area for some 80 years, and wow, that sort of perked their interest. They wanted to know, well, if you've been coming here for 80 years, well, you must have met the Queen at some point, haven't you? She cheekily replied, I haven't, but Dick here meets her regularly. The hikers then asked him what the Queen was like, and he said, thinking quickly, well, she can be cantankerous at times, but she's got a lovely sense of humor. And of course, no visit is complete without some photos, some evidence that you've met somebody who has maybe met the Queen. Okay, so the pair then asked the Queen to take a photo of them with Griffin, and she obliged. And afterward, Griffin took some snaps of them with her. Hey, why not for good measure? I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he shows those photographs to friends in America, and hopefully someone tells him who I am. The Queen said to her bodyguard after the encounter, all hail the memory of Queen Elizabeth and her humor. We can only hope that King Charles doesn't take himself quite too seriously. Madam Toastmaster.